Congratulations, Sir Daniel Winn, for your recent Light Matter screening, private exhibition, and unveiling in Beverly Hills. Can you tell us the significance of this documentary and the exhibit and the unveiling?
Thank you first, Janet, for this wonderful interview. Um, we just had recently my exhibition of light matter, which is the opposite of what I had last year, my collection of dark matter. In addition to that, we had our small short feature film of my works called Creation. And the short film is more of a philosophy of my work in terms of what I coin existential surrealism. What my goal is to have the viewers and the audience to have a better understanding of my uh, philosophy and style and artwork, so what it represents. So it was important for me to share my vision, not just in through my painting and sculptures at the gallery for the Light Matter exhibition, but the short film in itself gives you a better insight artistically to view deeper into my mind and soul of the meaning of life, how I look at it.
Yeah, and congratulations. Creation also won in Best Cinematography at the Venice Shorts Film Festival and Best Long Format Short at the Experimental Dance and Music Festival. So, do you plan to also turn it into other film festivals? What's your plan?
But right now, I believe that the director is submitting it to a few more festivals, but so far we've been doing pretty good, submitting only a few and got officially selected, nominated, and have won. So we're very honored that the judges or the audience and viewers are able to understand my artworks through um, the large screen. It's not just a documentary, but it's more of an artistic style interpreting what my work represents. It's very profound, it's very deep, and there's a lot of symbolism. And I was part of the film in a sense that not only in the film as the artist, as the main protagonist, but I was heavily involved in the post production, making sure that the imagery, the symbolism, the music, the sound, every second of the short film matter because I consider it as a form of art, as if I were sculpting or painting my artwork. I want to make sure that the short film had that same quality of artistic input that would give it my vision. Hence, I believe that is why it won so far with two festivals, two prominent awards. I'm very honored and proud of that.
Who are your inspirations in art?
Uh, you know, inspiration imitates life through art and art through life. My whole life from childhood to adulthood has been very surreal and tumultuous, and also a fairy tale still being written. So my inspiration is based on my life from childhood to current, but mostly the people around me, the people that impacted my life, impact my emotion, impact my daily activities, and anything or anyone that I bombard with every day comes in my dreams, whether it's reality or a dream state like, they are and becomes my inspiration to uh, put it into 3D in sculpture or two-dimensional artwork on canvas so that I can immortalize and share my experience for audiences and viewers throughout the world. Now, in addition to that, because I feel that I have no children and I'm pretty much the last of my line from my lineage, I wanted to leave something that is very profound. And I believe that my artwork in terms of sculpture and painting, and now in the form of performance art, I can give something uh, and leave something behind once I leave this world.
Hmm. You mentioned your life and interesting childhood. You are a very inspiring immigrant story coming from Vietnam and escaping to California after the fall of Saigon. Can you talk more about it and the challenges you and your family experienced?
Wow, that is going to be a long story, but I'll try to make it very brief. At the same time, a award-winning director and screenwriter, is already in production. I believe they're releasing it in 2025 during the 50-year anniversary of the fall of Saigon, to release the film based on my life as a child, escaping Vietnam and ultimately becoming an artist in the US and being successful. So that's very exciting. But to give it a summary, a synopsis of my background and past, it's not as what most people perceive it, because most people don't really understand my life yet, but ultimately they will. But my background is that most people don't realize that I was somewhat of an orphan.
Mm.
During the war, my father went to war fighting with the South Vietnamese and American soldiers, and they thought he died, but he had an accident from a bomb, and he was in a coma for over a year. And during that time, my birth mother remarried, and my stepfather did not want me, so I was left in the street.
Mm.
Um, and my grandmother, who was very poor at that time, and during that time, I believe everyone was very poor. She took me in, but she couldn't take care of me. So, um, but before she took me in, she asked one of my uncle to uh, kidnap me, take me away from my birth mother, and he did. And then he went to war, and he died in the war. So I was left as an orphan again, because my father's not there, my uncle's not there. So my grandmother took care of me, but she couldn't take care of me because she was very poor and had to take care of her other children as well. So she put me in an orphanage. And in the orphanage for about over a year, I was kicked out because I was a very rambunctious kid. So when I was kicked out, I lived in the street for a while, and it was a tough time as a child. Think of Oliver Twist. It's very similar to that. I had to steal in the street for food and sleep in the street. And ultimately, my father did come back from the war after his coma, and we were all happy. He remarried, so my stepmother, and then we ultimately, because he was in the U.S. military part of it, they gave him the last day of Vietnam in 1975 to get on the last helicopter and the last cargo plane to go to U.S. So that was traumatic that last day, because I had no idea what was going on, and there was a lot of chaos in the street with shooting and fighting, and I still have nightmares of that. And to date, I cannot watch a war movie because it brings back bad memories. And since I probably have still PTSD, it's been very difficult. But ultimately, when I came to the US, it was also a challenge. My stepmother and father struggled. We lived with a sponsor for several months, but we were very poor. My father and mother went to work at a strawberry and mushroom factory, picking strawberries and mushrooms. I was left alone to take care of my stepbrother, who was at that time 2 years old. And I pretty much had no life as a child. School was very difficult because during that time, I was the only Vietnamese American, and kids didn't understand the change and the difference. So I was picked on a lot, although I did adapt the English language very well. Within less than a year in the United States, I won the National Spelling Bee.
Mm.
And the newspaper was very proud and everything, so that was very exciting. Um, but then I grew up and went to high school and then ultimately to college, and that's another story as well. But let's just say that growing up as a teenager or even as a young adult, I had no friends. I was pretty much isolated, focused on my studies and family to make sure that my parents were going to school, and ultimately he became an attorney and she became an architect. But I was pretty much the person at home taking care of everything else. Without going into detail, let's just say that it was a very hard, extremely hard childhood up to when I was probably in my early to mid 20s, when my grandmother ultimately came to the United States. And I was happy again, seeing her again, because she was the only person that I felt loved me. But then after a couple of years, she passed away through cancer, and that um, drove me into depression. And that's why I gave up and quit medical school and my medical profession, because I felt like there was nothing else for me to be inspired to impress or to share my success or to prove to myself to anyone after that. So
So in a way, art has saved you. So talk about the role of art in your life. And I know you gave up medicine for art.
yes, um, as a child, I've always had an innate ability to create both paintings and sculptures. And living in the street, I would just create things out of dirt on the ground when it rained. And I would just love to create. The only person that appreciated it was my grandmother, who did not discourage me, but encouraged me to do that. And when I went to school to better myself to be a reconstructive surgeon, I did that for my grandmother because I was hoping that she would be proud of me. But when she passed away, I had an epiphany saying, in my mind, saying, yeah, I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to leave something of a legacy behind, and I really don't need to prove to anyone. And the happiest time of my life was when I was an orphan creating art in the street. And the only person that really truly appreciated it was my grandmother. But since she's gone, I felt that that was the happiest moment of my life. And I decided to go back into my art to feel that moment that was so fleeting as a child. Even though I was hungry, living in the street, it was carefree. I did art the way I wanted. I had my grandmother appreciating it. And that memory I want to capture. So that's why I gave up everything. I had nothing to prove and just to become an artist again.
Mhm. Where did you get your drive to open up a small gallery first, and then now you have galleries in Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and Beverly Hills? Where did you get that drive?
I believe that I was driven mostly by, uh, I would say, by no option because I have to eat. I had to survive. So it was driven by I would say, survival. So I work really hard, not to impress anybody at that time. I work hard just to make sure that I have enough money to eat because even at that time when I gave up my medical profession, I was living in my car, literally in the street again, in my 20s for quite a while, for several years. I working at the um, art supply store and to get art supply for uh, employee discount. And then I would sleep in my car. I would paint and create at the park. I would bathe and clean myself at gas stations and at the YMCA, the gym. For several years, I did that. And ultimately, I did save enough money because I have no overheads to rent a small studio. And with that studio, I lived there and started to create, but also did some framing because I worked at the art supply framing place. I learned a lot. And I approached my first patron was Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones was the creator and animator for Bugs Bunny, Porky Pigs, Daffy
Mm.
Duck. He adored me and he was my patrons and gave me a lot of work to frame a lot of its animation cells. So with that, I made a lot of money, saved that, put every penny away, at the same time still living, pretty much in my car in my studio, and enough to open a gallery in Laguna Beach and started creating and at first representing other artists. And they became successful, and then ultimately later on represented myself, and we are here we are. So it was driven pretty much initially by survival, but then became hard work, and of course passion and dedication ultimately also arise because the more I was creating, the more passionate and the more I want to convey my message and philosophy, the meaning of life, because I went through a struggle of very deep depression, of understanding what is the meaning of life, where a young orphan was discarded, pretty much how I felt, by everyone, whether by choice or by circumstances. It was very hard for anyone, or especially for me, to understand how could a child be put to that, and even as an adult. But to really understand what has happened is what made me come to realization of what the meaning of life is and what I want to create so others that are possibly struggling like me or want to aspire to be successful, maybe that I can make a difference.
Mm. And what challenges did you encounter as an Asian male coming to America and starting your own business?
Uh, um, I can't speak for all immigrants or even Asian Americans, but speaking for myself, I do have to say that there was a lot of prejudice. There's a lot of um, envy, and I think it stems from ignorance because of the unknown and being different. So again, it's a feeling of unwanted, whether as an orphan in Vietnam or an Asian immigrant in US, you felt an outsider. I truly understand the minorities in the United States of how they feel because I personally have experienced it myself. I don't blame anyone with the exception that possibly it's just pure ignorance. And because they're ignorant and they are sometimes maybe uneducated, they are scared. So my goal is to hopefully share with the world and not just the US that we're all the same. Uh, Whether our skin colors are different or our eyes are shaped differently, our height or gender or any differences, that we are human. We're the same way. So through my work, I put in the struggles as much as the beauty so that everyone can embrace their existence and hopefully will have a better life that they have right now based on my experience.
Mhm. And now you are a philanthropist contributing like 2 million to charities of various kinds. Can you talk about the charities that are very close to your heart and why?
Sure. I believe within the last 15, 20 years plus, it's definitely over 10 million so far that I have. And what we do is we donate, particularly me, not just financial, but artwork that I have auctioned off that I've raised a lot of money for. The two organizations that I'm mostly supportive of, but I support all charities, but the two that I'm very gravitate toward are the orphanages and the elderly homes. And there is a reason for that. The orphanages, of course, because I lived through that. I understand what it is to be an orphan. I understand what it is to feel unloved, discarded, and nobody want you. So I want to make a difference to the orphanages that those orphans feel wanted, feel taken care of, and that there's somebody out there that do care. The other charity is the elderly home. My grandmother, for example, struggled to trying to even take care of myself, and she can't even take care of herself, let alone anybody else. And I see that there are some temples in Asia and Vietnam that do help the elderly that are over 80 years old, and they are not supported by government funding, just purely by people with their altruistic donations, and it's not enough. So I'm sure there's a lot more other elderly that are same stories of my grandmother, and they have their own stories and struggles, and I want to give back. Hopefully that will make a difference, that what I could not do for my grandmother when I was a child, that I'm able to do now for those grandmothers, that could possibly make a difference to their grandchildren or their children that they can support. So those are the two that, because I have experienced it, it means more to me because I'm hoping to make a difference because I have, through my life, felt the pain, the sorrow, the struggle, the hunger of both, not just through myself, but to my grandmother, that it makes me feel that I'm contributing and doing something in a way, not for me, but for someone that has experienced somewhat similar to my past and my grandmother's past.
That's so moving. So tell us the year though that you were knighted by Prince Waldemar of Schaumburg-Lippe in recognition of your philanthropic work, and what feelings did you go through when you found out about it?
Well, that was the feeling is, I would say one word is surreal. I feel like it's a dream. I never anticipated that ever in my lifetime. You're talking about an orphan that's been pretty much unwanted, kicked out, by his birth mother, kidnapped by his uncle, and then he went to war and died. So the child felt unwanted. The grandmother could not take care of him because financially she could not. So she put him in an orphanage. So he felt unwanted there. Then, of course, he becomes rambunctious and gets kicked out of the orphanage. So it's throughout his whole life, it's a feeling of unwanted and um, not desired and unloved. So by giving back to charity, it was something that I wanted to do from your previous question. But when I did these charity, the son of the prince saw me at a lot of these charity events and saw what I did and asked his father to basically not ask, gave his father my information. And his father, Waldemar, only knighted 5 people in his lifetime. And he passed away about a year and a half ago through COVID. God bless his soul. And I was unaware of that. And I get a note or message stating that the prince's son wants to have dinner with me to discuss some things. So I thought, oh, that's very cool. I get to have dinner with the prince's son, and I'm assuming that he was interested in my art, but it wasn't. He was in a way kind of interviewing me with his assistant, and after that, I get a call from his assistant stating that the son of the prince is submitting my information, and they want more of my information to give to the father for possibly a nomination for a title of Sir, being knighted. It was completely unreal and surreal, but I figured out, said, there's got to be a catch, something, because I feel like I'm a nobody, and why would anybody want to knight me? There's so much more people that are so much more deserving than myself, and I don't deserve it. So initially, I sent a letter saying that I don't deserve it. It's not what I'm looking for, and I appreciate it. But I'm sure there's more people that are more qualified. So then I get the prince's son show up at the gallery to talk to me, saying that, it's because of who you are and your response is why we want you to get united even more so. So then I gave my information. The information went to Germany to the father. And about probably 8, 9 months later, I get a message again saying that the father, the prince himself, and the princess is flying over to meet me, to interview me again. So they flew in and they talked to me, and then I think a month or so later, said that they wanted to give me a title, and they asked if I'd like to fly to Germany to get knighted or to be knighted in the U.S. And I said, well, I've never been to Germany, but all the people I know are here in the US, so can we do it and maybe do it at the gallery? So the prince said, you know what, why don't we knight you on the day of my son's birthday? So we picked a date. Actually, it was his son's birthday that I was knighted at the gallery. We had a few hundred people, a lot of media, press coverage, but I only invited just a very small group, but it ended up being several hundred people. It could have been a lot more, but to me, I didn't want it to be a big deal. I didn't want it to be something that is a circus. I just wanted something that is respectful and small, but it became something quite an evening that was most memorable. And even though I only invited about 50 people, several hundred people showed up. So it was quite an event. And it was a whole surreal event. I never thought that I would ever get that in my life. And it was in the newspaper, media, press. So it was a nice gesture, and I was very honored to receive it.
And did it change your outlook in life, being knighted?
Uh, the bottom answer is no, because I'm still the same person. To me, it's just a title. It's no different from being called Mr., Sir, Mr., or anything else. But what I did find is that it was very convenient to have that title when I want to go to third world country to do philanthropy. Because going through third world country, you have to go through a lot of channels government and a lot of people, and you have to maybe give them money just to even help the people. So there's a lot of hurdles you have to um, jump to do philanthropy in third world. But having the title Sir somehow uh, speeds up that process so that um, I didn't have to wait because I guess it's almost like an ambassador or thank you, or a dignitary or a general that they don't really need to, they don't expect you to give them money because they're concerned that it gets through the top government official. So you get right in. So having that title does help me do my philanthropic work much more smoothly. But other than that, I don't feel any different. I uh, don't act any different. If anything, sometimes I'm uncomfortable when people refer to me as Sir Daniel because sometimes I forget that, yeah, I am a sir, I'm a knight, but most of the time it doesn't mean to me anything, but catches me off guard when people say that, and it feels a little awkward sometimes still, even to this day.
And how do you feel that the Asian World Film Festival has commissioned you to create these new awards? And I was there when you presented those awards, and were really impressive. The
It
trophies.
was, I would say it was one of the most proud moment of my life. I considered that to be equivalent of creating the Oscars for the Academy Award. When George Shamshon, the president and of the Asian World Film Festival, approached me with the board to create the snow leopard, I was very excited. Then from the snow leopard, it branched out to four more awards, and ultimately um, a fifth one, which is now six, which is the Bruce Lee Award. And now they will be coming out with another one, which is a very prominent one. And I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think it's more of an international award that is going to be given in Europe. So to me, to be able to create all these awards right now, currently six have been complete. Within the last 2 years, they've been giving it out. The second year, this year will be the third year they'll be giving out all these awards. And this year I'll be making the seventh, I believe, award. It feels very um, uplifting that this is my legacy. The Oscar has been around for decades, and I'm hoping that all these awards from the Asian World Film Festival, the Snow Leopard, Lifetime Achievement, of One Heart, Bruce Lee Award, hopefully those will be for decades as well. So even when I leave this world, there's something behind that is left of my legacy that I feel so proud that the people that are deserving to win these awards or being acknowledged are receiving something that I put my heart and soul in to make sure that they feel that they have done something that is so significant and made a difference in this world as well, in addition to receiving a recognition award that so much thought and labor and love was put into as well to validate their contribution to society.
And what is next for you?
Well, right now I am working on my next collection, and it is called, interestingly enough, Chaos and Order. And the reason why is there's a lot of things happening right now that is going to be probably unveiled in the near future within the next year or two, mostly two films. The feature film of Creation is going to start production at the end of the year. From the 18-minute film, this will be an hour-and-a-half film, much more elaborate and epic. And I'm excited with that because that's going to be incredible. If you thought that the short film, which won so far 2 awards from 2 festivals, was spectacular, I am hoping that the feature film of Creation will be even more epic and spectacular, that it will be recognized worldwide as well. The second film that is in production already with the script being written now is called Scarcity. And that movie is based on my life. Although I will not be in that movie, with exception maybe a cameo, I'm heavily involved with that because it is a story of my life. But it's not just a biography. It's more of a very dramatic, epic movie that shows the chaos of a child and how he becomes ordered, going from east to west to become who he is, and how that applies to everyone who struggles in life, whether as a child growing up or current. Hopefully, that movie will open everyone's eyes and have them see themselves and how they can better themselves. So it's not really a biography biopic, but more of a uh, inspirational movie to show people how you can uh, succeed and how can you overcome adversities and struggles in your life. Because if a child can be abandoned so many times and become who he is, then possibly you can be the same. But more importantly, if you're a parent watching this, go hug your child, go love your child, because that child that you see on film is no different from the child that is right in front of you. And you give that child the love and care. Imagine what that child could be for you in the future. So those are the projects I'm working on. My personal art collection for my next series, two upcoming movies. In addition to that, of course, there will be a lot more travel for the film and also philanthropic work. And in terms of the film, I'm very excited with that because the creation film will be filmed in the four continents: Iceland in Europe, Thailand in Asia, uh, Arizona, Texas, California for US, and Costa Rica for South America. That's for the creation film. So it's going to be an epic film.
Can you tell us what are you up to next, Sir Daniel Winn?
So the next, there's three things that is very significant for me that I'm working on. My next collection of artwork for exhibition, potentially at the end of the year, is going to be Chaos and Order. That is an exhibition of painting and sculpture that is the next chapter of my um, existential surrealism series, trying to explain universal truth. And I'll probably unveil it during the Asian World Film Festival in November. And also at the end of the year, the feature film of Creation, which is a larger epic version of the 18-minute short film, will be in production. The script is almost complete, and we're going to be filming that through four continents: USA in Texas, Utah, and Arizona. North America, which is going to be, which is North America. Europe is going to be in Iceland. Uh, Asia will be Thailand, and in South America, it will be in Costa Rica. So we're going to capture that story in a much more detailed and epic way with no dialogue, 90-minute film with no dialogue. And I'm really hoping that that film is going to win the Oscar as well, because I'm excited with that. And then, of course, the third major project that I'm working on is with the George Shamshon, the Emmy Award-winning director, who is going to be directing a film written by Bob Underwood, the screenwriter, story based on my life. It is not a biography to say, because it is, but it's not going to be filmed as a documentary. It's going to be a feature movie drama that is based on my life as an orphan, succeeding by escaping to the U.S. to become a successful artist. And hopefully that film will have viewers and audience appreciate what this child gone through, and that how they can view their child and their own life of what it means to be successful. Because the title of that movie is called Scarcity, which is a very serendipitous word, and I'll tell you that in a minute too. And that movie is to show that even if a person has everything, it's materialistic. What is really scarcity is not about material or stuff. It is about the emotional and love that you carry that is most significant in your life. And going back to scarcity, I was the word scarcity, is being not having enough is what it means. And the irony and why that the title of that movie came about is during my interview with the screenwriter, he noticed that, I was a brilliant kid, genius, went to the National Spelling Bee at 10 years old, um, beating a lot of people. And the one word that he missed was scarcity, which is the easiest word. And when we had that meeting, I broke down because I finally realized why I missed that word when I can spell pretty much any word in the dictionary, but I missed that word because it's not that I did not know that word. It's because I was avoiding and escaping what was lacking in my life. The scarcity means lacking of, and there was lacking, and I always needed approval because as a child, being an orphan, you always don't have anything, but mostly love and a figure that cares for you, and it'll be in the book and it'll be in the movie is that I was never hugged or embraced or touched by anyone until I was 29 years old. I never had anyone hold me, not birth mother, not no one until I was 29. So the scarcity made sense. And I broke down when I had the interview. And since 10 years old to now, I never understood why I missed that word because that was the most easiest word. It's like spelling the word cat or dog. I could do that, in my sleep, but yet I missed it. And it was a subconscious way of not wanting to know what that means and avoiding what was the past. So that was something that I want to add in there for you.
Very moving story. You're an inspiration to everyone. Thank you very much for your time, Sir Daniel, and more power to you.